One thing we've been doing here recently is talking about estranged parents. Parents who, for one reason or another, do not have their adult children in their lives. We've been going through YouTube a ton, and for the most part, it's been Diane. Something that we have not done, despite me being of the age where most of what I do is spend my time on TikTok, is go through TikTok. So there's an estranged mom on TikTok that I want to look at a little bit, and that's what we're going to do today. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, I'm Dawn. I'm an estranged mom, and I just say it like I see it here on TikTok. And I've gained quite a few followers in the last couple of days, and thank you for following along. Estrangement is not something that I'm proud of, and it's not something that mothers enjoy being a part of.
If you don't know Dawn, I'm going to have you assume she's already not the best person, because I know a little bit more about her than you do 40 seconds into this video. Dawn is another one of those types of people who is going to give you her side of the story. And her side of the story is, this happened because of maybe something I might have did. Oh no. Or, wasn't my fault. Our darn kids. And that's where we are. So we're going to listen to her story. We're not going to critique it too much. But we're going to take it with the idea of maybe she's not being as truthful as she could be. And it's something we all do. Nobody wants to tell the truth, and the truth makes you look bad.
But it does help other parents when they find that they are not alone, because being estranged is very isolating and very excluding. It's not including, it's excluding from everything. Family members do not want to be accused of being flying monkeys, because then they're worried they're going to be estranged from the child.
Don't know what a flying monkey is. It is someone you use as a messenger to either harass them and try and get messages to them. So if you're not in a relationship and you say, hey, don't want to talk, Max, ever. And I go, oh, okay, whatever, you're awful. And then I send people to either attack you or to send you messages from me. That's exactly what that is. If you're at a point in your relationship with your parent where you don't really want to talk to them, you don't really want anyone talking to you for them either. You just don't. Usually it's siblings. Usually like the parent will tell one of the other kids, hey, can you tell them this? Hey, tell them whatever. Ask if they're going to be home for Thanksgiving. When it's like, dude, I asked you not to talk to me in any way. And now you're making a villain out of the siblings or whoever it is you're asking for this.
So it's just not a good place. I will share that I was estranged for close to 2 years, a better part of 2 years before I started doing anything on TikTok. And I've had a lot of people asking, well, what is your estrangement story? Because they want to know. However, my children's flying monkey has made it quite clear that I'm doing a smear campaign if I'm sharing my part of the story.
That's probably not what that is. You're probably being told that you're speaking ill of someone when that's not really what happened. Also, I don't like that whether or not it's referred to as a flying monkey, I don't like that she keeps saying that. That's such a weird thing to me.
My children's flying monkey is...
Yes. She said her children's flying monkey, not hers. So is she trying to imply that like her kids are sending messages to her despite being estranged? Like, I think what's happening is she's deflecting fault. Whether or not it's on purpose, she's deflecting fault.
Made it quite clear that I'm doing a smear campaign if I'm sharing my part of the story. That's how they feel. They accused me of doing a smear campaign before I talked to anybody about my estrangement, so I'm not sure even where that came from, because that was long before TikTok.
She gives me, this is all speculation, wrote a long thing on Facebook immediately after it happened vibes. Ugh, the first comment on here is, a son is a son until he takes a wife. That's weird, dude. That is a weird thing to say. The rest of the comments make sense. If anyone decides to become estranged, it's never from a single event, it's from destructive, repetitive behavior. You're estranged because you caused it. No child would willingly cut off a parent unless they deserved it. Yes. If you're estranged, you're not alone. Yes, you are. Very good.
However, as I was thinking of a way that I could share why I'm estranged, I figured I would use my daughter-in-law's own words that she posted on a public platform. And they were talking about me. And so people knew who I was as she shared this. And these were her words.
That's fine.
She said, that's good.
Oh, she's using a TikTok filter. I just noticed that. Like you see her eyelashes go through her hat.
These were her words. She said, "That's good he's coming around." This was in reference to someone else's husband coming around about his mother.
Mm-hmm.
I know my husband took a while to understand that she was never going to change. I was patient up to a point, but put my foot down when it started affecting my physical and mental health while pregnant. So. While pregnant. My daughter-in-law became pregnant with my granddaughter a month after I suffered a severe concussion.
Okay.
Severe concussion.
Right.
I have my concussion story that I shared just recently, and it's also in one of the playlists under concussion.
Right. So what she's going to do now is either avoid or explain a couple of bad things that she said or did, right? And then blame it on the concussion she had a month prior. So whatever it ends up being, she's going to go, "Oh, did I say that about you while you were pregnant? I don't remember because I had just had a
concussion." The concussion, one of my treating doctors when I was in a psychosis called it a heck of a TBI. I had had a concussion a year prior. And I have an ultra rare disease that affects acetylcholine in my body. And acetylcholine is one of the chemicals in my brain as well, in your brain and everyone's brains. So my doctors don't know if that's why my reaction to my concussion and prolonged recovery was a part of it. The reason I bring this up is during my concussion recovery, my behavior was erratic.
There you go. Okay, so she had erratic behavior. She's going to blame it on the concussion. The pregnant wife of her son probably had to deal with a lot more than she should have while pregnant. And she's going to be like, "Well, it's not my fault. I had a concussion."
My behavior was dramatic.
I would like to know.
My behavior was uncontrollable by me.
Okay, so it's not your fault. Sure. I want to know what you said and did.
When you're in a mania, you can't control what you're doing. When you're in a PTSD episode and you've never had one before, you don't know what's going on. That is very difficult. When you almost die, that's very difficult. That's what brought on the PTSD episode. And prior to my concussion, I had been working with my therapist for years, trying to improve my relationship with my children. And he said to me two things. He said, "I think that your ex-husband has done a number on your children." And he said to me, "I don't think your daughter-in-law is on your side."
I don't think a good therapist is ever going to be like, "Oh, your son's wife? Sounds like a problem."
I think she's a part of it as well. My behaviors, once I had my brain injury, were horrible, and I wish that they hadn't happened.
Let's say that what she's saying is 100% accurate. Let's say that she had some bad behaviors, bad actions. She did bad things because of a concussion and she couldn't control herself. You have to understand that the daughter-in-law can 100% say, "Not dealing with that." You just nod your head. You just nod your head and go, "Okay." You don't go, "Oh, she's turning my son against me."
I really do, and I've apologized. People say, "Have you apologized?" Well, yes, I've apologized. Now, my brain injury took me well over 2 years to get to the point that I was not dealing with symptoms on a daily basis. Well over 2 years. Emotional overload happened incredibly easily, and it was the most difficult time in my life. I feel horrible that my behaviors affected their pregnancy. And again,
you feel horrible. Do you feel horrible enough to just say, "Sorry that happened, you're right, I won't try to be a part of your life"? Or do you feel bad that they punished you for your actions and now you need attention from TikTok?
And I've apologized to them a million times.
Which might be true, but at the same time, apologize once. When they say, "Don't talk to me," stop apologizing. Don't keep doing it. It's protection. Yes, they're protecting themselves. I think from her end, she would be like, "I'm being punished for this. That is out of my control."
But she said it right there. She put her foot down when she was pregnant. And my behaviors while I was recovering from a brain injury were more than she could handle emotionally or physically.
That's her right.
So it's right there. At the point when I finally was not having daily symptoms and actually could start to live my life again, I was estranged from 2 of my children.
Okay.
And when my third went no contact, he had said to me beforehand,
I'll say it again. If you have multiple children who have decided to go no contact with you, you might be the problem. Might be you, dude. Also, I'm going to be so real. I don't know how these people are so willing to post on TikTok or YouTube, because the comments for the most part are not on their side. Like, of the first 4 comments, 3 of them are like, it's your fault. Of the first 5 comments, 4 of them are like, it's your fault. What did you do? I have an estrangement playlist. What did you do? Go watch my other videos.
It said, that his childhood experience was not the same as his brothers. But they are all each other's best friends.
Good.
All of them. And the things that he said to me when he went no contact, he had never said to me before. Said I was emotionally abusive. I will admit to be.
They do this. They do this. They do this. They do this. They act, and they've done it. They've all done it. She did it. She's doing it right now. Diane did it. Breakdancing Dan did it. As soon as the topic of the issue comes up, they go, I had no idea. No clue. Us? Maybe I didn't buy you that candy that one time. Actual quote.
His brothers. But they are all each other's best friends. All of them. And the things that he said to me when he went no contact, he had never said to me before. Said I was emotionally abusive. I will admit to being emotionally neglectful.
Which is what that is.
I was raising 3 children by myself with no help from anyone.
They were probably raising each other if they're each other's best friends.
From the time they were in lower elementary school, 2 of them weren't even in school. Yeah, I knew that I was letting them down. I've done lots of deep dives into where I could have improved my behavior as a mother.
She's trying to make herself sympathetic. She's doing something that we haven't seen too much of, where she goes, yes, I may have done this. That was my fault. I've tried to correct it. I've done a bunch of deep dives. I think looking into what you could have done means nothing when it's not what you will do. Does it matter that you now know what to do if it is not something you'll ever do? Who does that help?
All I ever wanted to be was a mom. And I knew I was falling short. I went to therapy and would cry to my therapist about falling short. And my therapist looked at me and said, you're giving your kids something you never had.
Okay. She has had multiple therapists now, and they've all like validated her. No, like this can't be true. If it is, you have bad therapists. If you go to a therapist and you're going, I don't think I'm doing a great job as a mom, and your therapist doesn't go, how can we improve? Instead, they go, you know what? You're doing great. That's a bad therapist.
I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And they said, well, you're giving them a mom. However, as she said in that post, she put her foot down when she was pregnant. And that's why I'm estranged.
So she mentioned being estranged from her 3 kids, her 3 sons, right? She picked one out and then blamed her, at the time pregnant, now daughter-in-law. Kind of mentioned the reasons why she might be estranged, like, but didn't really blame herself for them. I had a brain injury, so I was a bad person. My therapist said, your daughter-in-law is turning your son against you. My therapist said, you're giving them something you didn't have, a mom. We're finding another person who just refuses to, in any way, take accountability for what they've done. And when you say, oh, no, she said she had a concussion, so it's not her fault. It would have been anything. The concussion might have been well timed, but it could have been anything. Oh, it's not my fault. If it wasn't the concussion, it would have just straight been the daughter-in-law's fault. These comments are a lot better than Diane's. Nobody wants to cut their parents off. If they do, it's for a reason. What does anyone gain by cutting off a family member? You sound like my mom. Haven't talked to her in 2 years. I'm 47. I'm a 47-year-old woman. I've never in my life met someone who cut someone off for no reason. Yeah. Maybe YouTube is kind of old geared now. Yeah, I think people who find these videos on YouTube are people who are seeking like validation. And then TikTok is like algorithm based. So like, I think a lot of us without parents are going to accidentally stumble here.
There's so many comments such as this. A child always estranges their parent for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Last night, before bed, I pulled up Reddit.
Ooh. What an old person.
I hadn't been on Reddit all day. And this one post popped up. And because I hear of situations and I read posts like this quite often, I stopped to read it. I want you to read it too.
I'll read it, and then I will cut out her reading it for YouTube so that people don't have to just listen to her voice. Have any of you discovered that the people, especially parents, you are estranged from are fine being estranged and are happily living their lives without you? At what point did it stop hurting that they haven't attempted contact? What now? Ooh, interesting. Estrangement isn't to punish them. It's to protect yourself. It doesn't really matter how they feel about it. Yes. Yes. I guess I had a secret hope they would eventually want to right the wrongs and all that. Just visited my hometown and found out that...
I guess I had a secret hope they would eventually want to right the wrongs and all that. Just visited my hometown and found out that when I'm brought up in conversation, they say she lives in state X and is doing well. Then change the subject. Guess it's just part of the deal. They apparently don't give a fuck. Probably never did.
I'm going to do the thing where I say my thoughts, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. She's going to bring this up, the very top point, and say they're doing it for attention or something stupid. And she's going to gloss over the fact that the second post has more than double the likes of the first. The second post is the right way to do this. The second post is, if you're going to estrange from anyone, you have to be willing to cut them off. It's not a punishment. You're not there to punish anyone. You're not punishing your parents for what they may or may not have done for you. You're doing what's best for you. And in that situation, what's best for you is to be away from them. Maybe it's not permanent in your head. Maybe there's a way back, but all of that has to be your own thoughts and your own wants and your own actions. You can't estrange from somebody, say, hey, don't talk to me, and then expect them to keep trying to talk to you. Are they going to? Probably. But you're doing it for the wrong reasons if that's why you're doing it. You need to do it to protect yourself. I understand the point of it hurting that they haven't contacted you. I get that. I do. But it can't be something that you actively seek out.
At what point did it stop hurting that they haven't attempted to contact? What now? And then
This also brings up a good point that Diane glosses over a lot. It hurts the kid to estrange. It just does. It is impossible to say, I can't have my parents in my life anymore and not have it hurt you. It's hard. It's hard. I'm not going to call it a breakup like Diane does, but it's hard to accept that you no longer have parents. And that hurts. Every time they have a birthday, every time there's a family gathering you're not going to be invited to, Thanksgiving, Christmas, your younger sibling's birthday, it hurts. It hurts. You're allowed to be hurt by that. I probably wouldn't go out seeking their attention though. I probably would not post this on Reddit because it just gives them ammunition they don't need. Disappointing is a good word. It is disappointing to know that your parents were able to move on from you so quickly. I think that the final step before estrangement is like this begging of your parents to see what they did wrong and to change and to just like keep your relationship alive. And there's a part of you that just holds on to that when you do become estranged. But you also have to learn to just not let it go. I think you're going to hold on to it for a while. But you can't expect it to change. The reason that you're estranged is because they won't change. And expecting them to do so one day is just a good way to hurt your own feelings.
I didn't mean to sound unfeeling. It is disappointing and I'm sorry. The next person, again, these are all strangers. Try to separate yourself from that hope. The chances it will ever be realized are very low. It can keep them from progressing, or it can keep you from progressing and healing. And then again, another anonymous stranger says, you're human, but going no contact is to protect you. I have felt the same when I was younger. Grief tends to be linear, or tends to not be linear. Hugs.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Something that I want to point out is we've seen her now on 3 different TikTok channels. I don't know that she's changed her username, or if she has 3 different TikTok channels. We couldn't find the other one. So I don't know if they get taken down or she changes the name. This video of hers is from Estranged to Empowered. The one before that, I can't remember, but that's the one I tried searching. And then now she has Fired Mom. I don't know what that's about. I'm sure we'll get more into it. But right now, I just want to point that out.
So this poor estranged child is feeling neglected because her parents didn't go after her. Her parents respected the no contact. When does it stop hurting? And these anonymous strangers on Reddit are giving her support.
Mm-hmm.
So let's read on.
I think no matter what, you always kind of hope your parents are your parents. One side is waiting for you to come back. The other side is waiting for you to change. And you're always going to be disappointed.
The original poster says, "This rings true for me in a lot of ways. I don't like them."
She says, "It's hard to be around them. I was not abused or neglected. Life was pretty stable. They're not awful people, but by my late 20s, there was too much friction." That is entirely different than a lot of these situations that we've seen covered. Yeah, there's a big expectation around family and about the time you should devote to them, whether or not you actually get along with them. And then Diane, I speak a lot about Diane, but we went so deep into her situation that like a lot of situations I have are ripped from her. Diane goes off on like, oh, they have chosen family now, so they don't need you. Then they don't want you, and that's why they left. The thing about chosen family is those are people you get along with. Those are people who you met being who you are, who like you for who you are, and will hopefully keep you accountable for the things that you do. That's who your family should be. Your family not choosing to be that doesn't mean anything. Your family not choosing to be people that you get along with means you probably just shouldn't try to get along with them.
Someone comes back trying to find something to hold on to. It says, also, they're probably not okay. Is your family big on appearances? They may want others to think everything in the family is just fine. Love to you.
Is she like crying?
And then the original poster comes back with, LOL, no, they're not, meaning they're not big on appearances. And they have moved on. I was just having a moment of wishing for something that nobody involved is capable of having. It's all okay, really. I have my husband, my kid, my friends, and I won't have to deal with aged parents. So there's that too. I was not abused or neglected.
Mm-hmm. Which brings us to the reasons why you are willing to become estranged or on a spectrum, right? You don't have to be neglected. You don't have to be abused. You don't have to be physically assaulted. You don't have to have that great of a reason for being estranged from your parents. You don't really have to have a reason. If your parents are people that you don't get along with, you're okay to just be like, sorry, thank you for the time that you raised me, but this isn't a relationship I can have anymore. You're allowed to do that with anyone. You're an adult. You're taking care of yourself. She has a family. You're allowed to not talk to people simply because you don't want to talk to them. You're under no obligation. You don't work with these people. They're not your bosses. You should live the life that you want. And if the life you want needs to be free of distractions like that, or people who you just don't add anything to it, that's okay. I might get a couple of comments from the parents being like, well, why can't the parents do that? Well, you can. You can. You can stop talking to your adult children for any reason you want. Any reason you want. If it's a problematic reason, then you might get some backlash like, oh, my son is gay. I'm disowning him. That's stupid. If they're a child, probably getting some backlash. But if they're 30 and you're like, every time I talk to my son, I feel bad, don't want to talk to him anymore. Don't talk to him anymore. It's going to suck for both sides, but you need to do what's best for your life. And no one smart enough to understand these situations is going to blame you for that.
Was pretty stable. They are not awful people.
Oh, see, but now she's using this as an example of being like, see, I wasn't a bad person. I was also not a bad person. They estranged from us even if we're not bad people.
But by my late 20s, there was much friction, many harsh words, and I bailed hard. And the last sentence, and I won't have to deal with aged parents. So there's that too.
Yeah.
And for all you estranged adult children that leave these comments, you need to think twice.
About what?
Speak for yourself. You don't know. You don't know me.
She can't say that because these are responses to her story. These aren't like about people they've never heard of or met.
You don't know the parent you're arguing with in my comments. You don't know their situation. You don't know. You simply do not know.
We're going to explore her page tomorrow, October 15th. She's right in that you don't know the parent you're arguing with and you don't really know her. But I will say the parents willing to argue are probably the parents worth arguing against. The people in her comments, the few parents in her comments who are like, oh, you go girly. Yeah, these darn kids, these stupid kids, they just want to be written in our will. And that sounds so extreme until we go over to YouTube. Spoiled adult children today. Who needs your love, mom? F off. We'll be back for the reading of the will and it will be chicken poop of you to write us out of it. That's most adult kids today. And parents are narcs. Little angry face emoji. This was spoiling your little gifts got you. Rotten adults. My point of view is that those hating this woman, speaking of Diane, sneering at her for explaining how she feels, making unkind comments, are doing exactly what narcs do. By the way, this is on her video where she just reads hate comments and starts going, this isn't for you stupid eeks. Amazing how many spoiled kids have grown up with no ability to extend understanding, compassion, or concern, but that's not at all what's happening. Most of us are more than capable of doing that for each other and for people who are victims of abuse or bad parents in general. Kids spent years having parents' unconditional love. I cannot name a single thing Diane did that you could consider unconditional love. Not a single thing. Now they hate their parents for it. And the parents are the selfish narcs. Hilarious. It's the spoiled rotten kids. Just like this nasty boy here. That's me. I'm the nasty boy. Person with no understanding or compassion. A narc, thanks. That's exactly what a narc is. A hard-nosed person that sneers at others' pains. What a back world we live in. Yeah, these are my comments. I'm sitting here defending her daughters, depending on which videos you watch. And I'm the narc. So true, bestie. Again, did not have to scroll that far down. Like anytime I scroll, like there's a lot of great people. There's a lot of people who are super understanding or just have like comments to say.